They didn't just think I was a failure. That night, my family made sure everyone at the post-runway gala knew it. I sat quietly at the edge of the velvet banquette, clutching my sister's sequined clutch, while my father laughed about my little sewing projects. My sister smirked, adjusting her hair for a selfie, and my mother nodded like my mediocrity was a burden she bore with saintly patience. I didn't interrupt. I didn't defend myself. I just smoothed the fabric of my own simple black blazer. Then the most feared woman in the fashion industry, a customized pair of sunglasses perched on her nose, stopped at our table, looked past my sister, stared directly at me and whispered, "Wait, you designed this?" The room went still. Even my mother froze, her champagne glass halfway to her mouth. Before I tell you what happened next, tap like, comment where you're listening from, and share if your family ever underestimated you, because that silence changed everything in that exact moment. My name is Alara Cross, and in my family, beauty was the only currency that defied inflation. My sister, Bella, was the gold standard. Tall, blonde, effortlessly photogenic. She was a model. Not a supermodel yet, but if you asked my parents, it was only a matter of days. I was the dark horse, the background character. The one who liked to draw and mess around with fabric. To them, I was a glorified seamstress useful for hemming Bella's pants or fixing a zipper, but certainly not an artist. We were at the Obsidian Gala, the after-party for New York Fashion Week's biggest night. Bella had walked in a show for a mid-tier commercial brand, but to hear my parents tell it, she had opened for Chanel. The room was packed with celebrities, designers, and editors. My parents had bought their way to a VIP table, desperate to network Bella into a better contract. I was only there because Bella needed someone to hold her purse and touch up her lipstick. I sat on the periphery, invisible in my black trousers and blazer, watching my family perform. Bella was stunning tonight, wasn't she? My mother gushed to a producer sitting nearby, ignoring the fact that he was trying to eat his salmon. She has the walk of a young Giselle. The producer nodded vaguely, looking for an escape. My father poured more wine, his face flushed with pride. "It runs in the family," he bragged. "Well, mostly. Alara here," he gestured to me with his fork. "She's more of the backstage type. Keeps herself busy with needlepoint and alterations." He laughed, a booming sound that made me shrink inward. "Someone has to fix the clothes Bella rips, right?" Bella giggled, sipping her skinny margarita. "Oh, stop, Dad. Alara tries. She actually made that jacket she's wearing. It's cute in a DIY kind of way." She said it with a patronizing sweetness that was worse than an insult. It was pity. I looked down at my blazer. It was structured architectural, made of matte silk wool blend with a hidden corset construction and hand-stitched lapels. It was a prototype for my upcoming collection, but they didn't know that. They saw what they wanted to see. Homemade clothes on a homemade daughter. I didn't correct them. I had learned years ago that my voice didn't carry across their table. I focused on the room instead. The lighting was low, the music thumping a deep bass rhythm. Waiters wove through the crowd with trays of caviar. And then the atmosphere shifted. The crowd parted like the Red Sea. Walking through the center of the room was Vivienne St. James, the editor-in-chief of Mode Global. She was the gatekeeper of the industry. One nod from her could launch a brand. One frown could bury it. She walked with a cane topped with a silver skull, her eyes scanning the room behind dark glasses, dismissing supermodels and billionaires with a single glance. My mother gasped. "It's Vivienne," she hissed, grabbing Bella's arm. "Fix your posture. If she sees you, this is it. This is the moment." Bella straightened up, putting on her best editorial face. My father adjusted his tie. They radiated desperation. Vivienne was heading straight for our section. My parents held their breath, preparing to launch into their elevator pitch about Bella. Vivienne stopped at our table. My father stood up halfway, a smile plastered on his face. "Miss St. James," he began. "I'd love to introduce you to my daugh." Vivienne didn't even look at him. She didn't look at Bella, who was beaming a high-wattage smile. She was looking at my shoulder. Specifically, at the seam of my blazer where the sleeve met the collar. She leaned in, invading my personal space, her perfume smelling of cold lilies and money. She reached out a gloved hand and touched the lapel of my jacket. The table went deadly silent. My father froze in his half-standing crouch. Bella's smile faltered. This construction, Vivian said, her voice low and scratchy, like expensive velvet. It's a reverse bias cut. Hand-finished. I looked up into her sunglasses. My heart was pounding, but my voice came out steady. Yes, I said. And the internal structure is boned with silk fusing, not synthetic. Vivian hummed. A sound of approval that echoed louder than any applause. She ran her finger down the sleeve. And the fabric? It absorbs light. It doesn't reflect it. Matte Japanese wool, I replied. Double milled. Vivian straightened up and finally took off her sunglasses. Her eyes were sharp, intelligent, and terrifying. She looked at me, really looked at me for the first time. I have seen this silhouette before, she murmured. I saw sketches of a collection like this sent to my office from a ghost address in Brooklyn. No name. Just the initials Evie. She paused, and the air left the room. You are Evie, aren't you? The silence that followed was suffocating. My mother looked from Vivian to me, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. My father sank back into his chair, looking dazed. Bella let out a breathy, confused laugh. What? No, Vivian, you're mistaken. She just sews at home. She's nobody. Vivian turned her head slowly to look at Bella. The look was withering. Nobody. Vivian repeated. The Evie sketches are the most innovative thing to cross my desk in a decade. I have buyers in Paris fighting over who gets the exclusive rights to the debut. She turned back to me, dismissing Bella entirely. Why didn't you sign your full name? Because, I said, glancing at my parents, who looked like they were watching an alien emerge from my skin. I wanted to be sure the work was good enough on its own. Before the noise started. Vivian smiled. It was a rare, terrifying expression. It is good enough. It is exceptional. She pulled a heavy cream card from her pocket and placed it on the table in front of me. I am shooting the September cover next week. I want this blazer on the cover, girl. And I want to interview you. Not as a seamstress. As the creative director of the next big American fashion house. My mother found her voice, but it was high and screechy. Ilara? A fashion house? But she never went to design school. She hems Bella's skirts. And clearly, Vivian said icily without looking at her. That was a waste of her time. She tapped the card. Call my office at 8 a.m. Don't be late. Vivian St. James turned and walked away, the crowd parting for her again. But this time heads turned back to our table. Not to look at Bella. To look at me. Whispers broke out. Who is she? Is that Evie? Did you hear what Vivian said? My father looked at me with a mix of horror and calculation. I could see the gears turning. How he could spin this, how he could manage me, how he could profit. Ilara, he started, his voice dripping with sudden, fake warmth. Why didn't you say anything? We have capital. We could invest. We're a team, my mother added frantically, reaching for my hand. The Cross sisters. Bella can model your clothes. It will be a family empire. I looked at my mother's manicured hand reaching for me. I looked at Bella, who was staring at me with jealousy so potent it looked painful. She was wearing a dress that cost $5,000, but she looked cheap. I stood up. I picked up the card Vivian had left. No, I said calmly. Bella can't model my clothes. Why not? Bella snapped, tears of rage welling up. I'm a professional. Because, I said, slinging my backpack over my shoulder, the same backpack they had made fun of in the limo. My brand is about substance. And you don't fit the aesthetic. I walked away from the VIP table. I didn't look back. I could hear my mother calling my name, her voice rising in panic as she realized the failure of the family was the only one who had actually succeeded. I walked out of the gala, past the paparazzi who were waiting for stars, and hailed a taxi. My phone blew up before I even got in the car. Emails from buyers, DMs from stylists, messages from people who had ignored me for years. I deleted them all. I kept only one contact, Vivian St. James. That night, I didn't go back to my parents' house. I went to my small studio apartment, turned on the lights, and looked at the dress forms standing in the corner. They were draped in fabrics my family thought were scraps. They were wrong. They were my future. I realized then that their doubt hadn't stopped me. It had protected me. It gave me the quiet I needed to become great. And now that the noise had arrived, I was ready to lead the conversation. If you've ever been told you're not enough, or that your dreams are just little hobbies, remember this. The people who can't see your value are usually the ones with the worst vision. Keep working in the dark until your light is too bright to ignore. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, hit subscribe, and let me know in the comments. What's the secret talent you're hiding from the world? I read every single one. See you next time.